Hey, what's up, everybody? Appreciate you all for joining. This is the One-on-One Sports Show. I'm Shawnee,
I am Dante, and we got an
and
action-packed week, man.
yeah,
Just
go
here,
ahead, man.
we made it. Put your hands up. Thank God we made it. We made it without no football. Well, I mean, obviously, no disrespect to 0 week in college football, but it's a little light. Like there's a few things like as far as some fans, if your team's going, like obviously, I know as far as SWAC MEAC challenge was week 0 week, and Jackson State looked really good, against South Carolina State. Well, not so much as far as how they looked in week their second game, but a major game we want to get into to kick it off with college football. As we know, we'll get into the NFL later with the defending champion Kansas City Chiefs taking on the upstart Detroit Lions. So that's going to be a real interesting matchup. But we wanted to jump right into one of the big matchups. The Florida State LSU game last
That's this.
year
This was
was
the
great.
biggest matchup of the week.
Yeah, it was the big matchup of the weekend, and it showed in the ratings. I want to say they got like 9 million viewers, 9.1 million viewers to that one, and so it was the highest rated game. It was the standalone spot on ABC on Sunday, and I was pissed off about it because the whole spectrum thing that's been going on, like they really, I knew about it because I work out at the gym and I saw like something on the message because I basically only have cable for live sports, and just because I don't like the lag time because I hate it. The worst thing I hate is I have push notifications. You forget to throw them off. You're excited to watch the game. I've watched so many Rangers games and then pop. Well, I know they about to hit a walk off. Okay, cool. So you just watch it. That ruins the moment. That's the point. That's why they pay so much for live sports. So now having to deal with, I'm probably gonna have to get like YouTube TV or
Yeah,
something until they get
that's what
that
I have.
handled.
It's YouTube TV is real good. I mean, I think it's the most
Okay.
expensive one, but it has the most channels just basically by default. So that's what we have. We've been having them for damn near almost since they came out. We used to have PlayStation View.
Yeah, I
Then
remember that.
they went out and they basically recommended, okay, hey, we about to go out of business or whatever, or they're about to stop this product, but go ahead and check out YouTube TV. It's kind of similar in what we do. So we've been so far so good with them. But
Yeah, I'm gonna get back to that. I might have to
I
I
know
might
what
have
you're
to check
talking
it out.
about with the lag on the spot, but YouTube TV, as far as I can see, they they pretty good. I mean, yes, if you was watching like on cable, they will be maybe 5 seconds ahead. But a lot of time, unless it's just back, it's just real a sudden notification. Like as soon as the game is over with, then the notification come in. But a lot of times YouTube TV is able to keep up. But yeah, within that game though, well, what was the number? What was the seedings
Number five, LSU.
and number versus number 9,
Number eight. They were
number
number
8,
eight. And so
and
yeah,
yeah, LSU just got. I remember last year Florida State won because they blocked the extra point.
yeah.
They didn't need to block the extra point this game. They just stomped them.
It was one that last year you could honestly say from seeing it, it was just like, oh, okay, you lucky to get that one. And then you were thinking, hey, where this is gonna go, and then it ended up being a really good win for them because LSU was the West representative for the SEC and played Georgia, in the SEC championship, beat knocked off Alabama, had some really good wins under their belt. So that's when I started to notice, okay, well, maybe Florida State is starting to get it together, as a power. Because I have a theory that if the powers like the Florida States, the Miamis, my beloved Texas, USC, some of those schools, if you spend too much time away, you'll end up like Nebraska. Now, true enough, you may not fall as low as they have because they are in a part of the country to where they don't have states around them that produce a lot of premier talent. They have to go further to get talent, probably than most schools. Most schools that are big, they have close hotbeds. That's why they're good. That's why the Floridas, even though Alabama doesn't have just amazing high school, football players, Georgia's close and Florida's close. And then, they can dip, they dipped into Texas and now they're national. So they go anywhere. You can be in Wyoming. They're gonna get you. You know, if there's great. Not to say there's not always great players there. No disrespect, but so Florida State coming out and having a statement win against LSU. I fully expect LSU to bounce back. It's tough to play game one on the road. Like we saw some teams that we felt like are gonna be good have some rough starts. So that's why playing those big games, it kind of shows you if you can get into it and win that game the rest of the season. If you keep 18, 19, 20 year olds focused, yeah, you'll have a really good season. So I expect big things from Florida State. I expect some good things from LSU, but it looks like early on, it looks like they can kind of decide the ACC early because Clemson got rolled by Duke.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out the game because I was thinking I don't know if it was between the LSU Florida State game or the Clemson Duke game.
Yeah,
And the quarterback for one of those teams, he was just making ill-advised throw after ill-advised throw, just throwing the ball because he saw pressure getting to him. He was just throwing it and right in front of the defender. Sometimes they'll catch it, sometimes they didn't. I forgot which team is all being jumbled up. I was like, damn, I want to say it was LSU quarterback, but regardless, yeah, Clemson. And the thing I heard about Clemson, Dabo Sweeney, he's old school to a fault.
yeah.
He does not like to get his players from the transfer portal. He feels some type of way about NIL. Basically, he is not. And we're going to talk about a particular coach and a few who has embraced the new college football generation and the recruitment and everything that is college football today. He has fully embraced it. Dabo Sweeney is the complete opposite. He does not embrace the NIL. He does not embrace the transfer portal. So he literally hasn't had a quarterback since Lawrence left him, and they keep giving them the benefit of the doubt, putting them in these preseason rankings and whatnot. And I believe what really hurt that program was when Brent Venables left and went to Oklahoma. And
You think so?
they haven't been the
Yeah.
same, and it's I don't know. He has not. That program has not left. Cause Venables was there for years with Sweeney,
Years and put
and
up
yeah, it's not the
and got a
same.
lot of guys drafted and did a lot of work getting those guys in the trenches. Like that's why they were like I want to say that one championship they won where it's like, man, they beat Bama up kind of good. And if you go back and look at it, nobody handles Bama like that. Well, it's because they had those type of players. Of course, we know they had the young great quarterback that everyone had hyped up and lived up to it. But they had the guys in the trenches. They had the Christian Wilkins.
Yeah,
They had the Dexter Lawrence. They had those guys coming in and rotating in and just handling shop. And that's why I said we might have been robbed. I think LSU probably, any LSU fan will tell you this. That 2019 was gonna definitely win, but it kind of like we may have been robbed. Not that Clemson wasn't great, but that team that Ohio State had with Justin Fields, that might have been the better matchup because on the outside, they had the guys that end up going to the league at the cornerback position. They had Jeff Okuda. I think they might have had, I forgot the corner that David Arnett that ended up playing, kind of getting in trouble and falling out of favor with the Oakland Raiders, excuse me, the Las Vegas Raiders. And so that might have been a better matchup, but that you couldn't argue because that Clemson team has so much talent. And I think Dabo had a good run with that, but the racial comments where it's showing that it's showing like he basically is one of those coaches that sometimes racially you don't know if a coach gives a damn about his guys and cares about their issues. Dabo seems like the guy was like, hey man, it's not just that everybody can really not really care out the end. They just trying to win with the players, but you damn sure look like it. His comments, he's been saying he's just been sticking his foot in his mouth. He's been given on Twitter they gave him the nickname Dabo Luther King. He's been getting killed, and then he's going old school with the anti-NIL. But you can be old school with your approach with work ethic and how you want the guys to be, and not be a total just players coach. But there's a coach that we're going to get to soon, and he is as old school as it gets, and that's why he's mentioned that he doesn't want to coach at the NFL level, and so he's found success. Other coaches are finding success in figuring out the transfer portal. Hell, if we talk about NIL, let's not leave out the fact that before he fell off a cliff, the quarterback that he had at Clemson that was supposed to be the heir apparent to Trevor Lawrence, DJ Ukulele, he was the poster boy for the first year for the Dr. Pepper commercials, the playoff commercials. He was getting paid like a milli for that. So it's just like, and that was, he didn't understand, dummy. That's what brought players to your program. The
Mm-hmm.
quarterback now, I mean, we don't know how well he's going to be, but Kay Klubnik was a 5-star prospect from Texas, from Austin Westlake, a powerful program in Texas. That was a big get for him. And it's kind of like you had Dexter, you had DJ, then you come and get Cade, and now you got to go and get another one. That's attractive if you're doing that. But if you're anti-NIL and you're not, being new school enough, you can't get fired. Like if there's a world where you could get fired as much success as you've had and the run you've had. So
It depends if the Clemson brass will pull that trigger. I know he just done so
true,
much for that school, so who
he
knows?
has.
But during that game, props to Duke for winning, but Clemson had their chance. They just kept fumbling the ball. They had no problem getting to the red zone, fumble, and it was just one of them silly losses because usually Clemson just has that conference just on lock. There's really no other.
Yeah.
Only team you can hope to challenge them is Florida State. Miami, they spend more time kind of below the radar a lot of time than above the radar like they were in the past. But really, it's just Florida State, and if Florida State not playing good, literally Clemson just run away in that conference.
Clemson, it's an easy one. It's one of those leagues, and now they've messed up because now they're in a position to where there's other teams that are in position to take them
I
on.
think Syracuse last year gave them a run for their money because Syracuse was undefeated, and towards the last one they lost a conference game. That's what gave Clemson. It was something like that. But Syracuse be creeping up. They in the other. Cause they in the north.
Yeah, the other,
Yeah.
And now you got North Carolina with a quarterback that's going to be a top 5, top 10 pick, and Drake May, and so you got them rising up, and so this is a bad time for them where they can look at them, and that's why I say about not so sure about the job security. He could lose to if they play North Carolina, and if he loses to Florida State, which I want to say they play them early in the season. They play them in a few weeks. So they could be looking at it by the end of September and be like, hey, your season's basically over, and mess around and lose that rivalry game to South Carolina and see what happens. Then it's going to be a conversation like, hey, man, and then he might.
Didn't they play each other? Did North Carolina and South Carolina play each other?
No, yeah, they did. And North Carolina took them down. And so if Clemson with South Carolina being their in-state rival and playing them in that rivalry week, that's where that happens to where normally if you watch a coach get fired, it's the success of his rival. So or losing to his rival. And so if that were to happen, I would say, hey, that's one to look out for and to be on the lookout. Yeah, I want to say they play Clemson on the 23rd. The Florida State has to go to Clemson. So they have that advantage, but that's gonna be one to look out for. That's definitely gonna be a game to look out for because it's just. But as far as the rest of what was going on week 1, it was a lot of teams that I'll say there was a few teams that looked dice shaky a little bit, or part of their team looked shaky, and Florida, I don't know, Florida was rough on them against Utah. That they just didn't really.
That team looked just
they having
bad.
They having
gonna be on the field.
They look like they're in for a down year. Ohio State did look great against Indiana. From the little bit I was able to see of them play, and then
them afternoon games, I missed a grip of them because that's when we were doing our fantasy draft. So I was busy doing that. So, and we'll get into that later, but. A lot of those, I think we started when Texas was playing Rice.
Yeah, And that was one I was expecting them to go on and run off so I could see some of the young guys. I was looking forward to seeing Arch. I really like that they got to back up some shine to kind of come in and play a little bit but the Texas defense, kudos to them. They look strong. They look like when they go and play Alabama this Saturday, that's going to be a fight in the trenches because last year they were able to compete with them and stop Alabama from really doing much until late in the game. They should have had a safety in the game. They were getting pressure on Bryce Young, and it's just him getting out of that sack to throw the ball and get that field goal to win the game. But yeah, Texas is backup Malik Murphy. He looks so physically impressive, and so he comes out and he just got to learn how to don't put so much on the ball. Like he's coming out and just throwing bullets. And I know some of it's adrenaline. You getting into the game, first game action, and that's why I used to think, hey, what does it matter those guys getting them in the game? Let them see live bullets. Let them call a play. Let them come in and run a little bit. So when they do, if they have to hop into a game, hey, they look a lot better. So that's what
we wanted to get into this the main topic, I guess, that we had as y'all saw on the main screen and whatnot. So we're gonna let the admin roll a clip for us real quick, and then we'll talk about it once it's done.
You got it rolling yet? I'll just let us know when we got it rolling.
Usually God gave me a word long before this, but he's been holding me. Because it's not about them. This is about us. This has nothing to do with the team that's opposing us. This is about us. This ain't got nothing to do with the naysayers, the unbelievers, the haters, the doubters. This is about us. When we started this journey, we told you it was going to be trying, it was going to be tough, but you endured. Because it's about us. That man next to you is a miracle. That man next to you is a believer. That man next to you is a go-getter. That man next to you is a dog. That man next to you is somebody who wants this thing. That man next to you is somebody who believes. That man next to you is somebody that got to have it today. We ain't got tomorrow. We got now. We ain't got next. We got now. We ain't coming no more. We here. We here. Since y'all know we here, give me my theme music. Okay.
This is something that we have never seen before in college football. This experiment at Colorado, Coach Prime changing over the roster, 90 new players. This is completely unprecedented. I am as excited as you at home to see what this looks like because none of us have any idea. We're all going to find out together.
Coach Prime, first game at Colorado. Change the roster. Bunch of new guys. New transfers. What do you think, Joel? What does he have to offer in game number 1 of his tenure here? Sanders operating out of the gun. Sanders looking wide open, touchdown. Dylan Edwards. And Colorado marches it right down the field on their opening series. 3 receivers at the top of your screen. Morris over the middle and intercepted in the end zone. Trevor Woods picked it off, and Colorado forces the turnover, and the Buffaloes are in business. 7-0 Colorado. Sanders gives it to him. Touchdown Buffaloes. Wow.
Beautiful job by the right side of that offensive line. And how about that blocked, and that was Bishop Thomas, the defensive lineman, and just plants the TCU defender in the end zone.
Morris in the end zone. Incomplete. Sanders, here's a little screen, and they find Edwards. He breaks it back with running room on the ball. Edwards down the sideline. Dylan Edwards, touchdown Colorado. 75 yards. What a way to start the second half for the Buffaloes as they try to put TCU to sleep. Third down, Morris. Intercepted, wow! Travis Hunter, unbelievable! Hunter just plucks it out of the air. Sanders goes deep once again. This time it's caught. 2nd and 2 at the 7. They pitch it out wide. Touchdown, Dylan Edwards. And just like that, Colorado responds. Shedeur Sanders looking, throwing it deep. Sanders! And it's caught at the 40. Guess who? Travis Hunter. Sanders sprinting, sets, delivers. Touchdown, Colorado! Jimmy Hart. So here we go. 4th down and 2 at the 46. Caught first down and more down the sideline. Stop and start Edwards. Touchdown, Colorado. Whoa! Dylan Edwards changing speeds. Here's Morris in trouble. Lets it go. Caught. And not enough for the first down on 4th down. They said Deion Sanders didn't know what he was doing. He was shipping guys out. His critics, coaches all over the country saying that this was not the right way to build a team.
Hey, they counted us out. We still here. We're not done. Shock the world, you heard? Hey, they doubted us. Hey, they doubted us. We ain't going nowhere. We here.
Man.
So as y'all see, that's our Colorado Buffaloes infomercial right there.
Man,
I can honestly say I have never, maybe hell since I forgot that quarterback name, but early '90s, the last time Colorado had any type of attention on them.
yeah,
National attention.
the
But
last time
they getting it now.
to the doubters. I
I
mean, sometimes
I saw that. I was gonna get to it once we, but yeah,
I
I
feel
saw
you.
that.
I feel you on that, but I do think this. There's a thin line, and some of it is constructive criticism. Like I know myself, I was expecting them to be competitive. I wasn't sure if they were going to win just because TCU, and I know the last time we saw them, they got their teeth kicked in. Newsflash: a lot of people would have got their teeth kicked in by that Georgia team. That was an NFL defense almost as good as they were. But seriously, that was a team with a lot of talent, with a talented team and a ranked team versus a team that won one game a year ago that had to switch out and get. In the promo you said Joe Klatt said 90. I saw 86. So over 80 new players. That is nearly a full roster because that team just wasn't good enough to compete at this level of football. So to see them come out and do that, it is worth it. Some of the people, their critiques were past critiques, and it was digs at Deion. He has not been a liked player since his college days, but I know for sure his NFL days. There were players that did not care for him, but he helped him win on Sundays. So it's just like, hey, let him make it. He played defense. Offensive defense don't always even talk. So there was some of that, and those kids didn't deserve some of that, and they say they didn't. They absolutely didn't. So I hear you on saying, don't give them credit, but sometimes you gotta mention them. Like the reporter, I think it was Ed Water, didn't respond to his question. Hey, how you believe now? And it's one of those deals where Ed Water had the right response, where he just came back and was just like, hey, look, That was a great moment for you and your son and your team. You take the high road. Other columnists would not have done that.
Yeah, 'cause
And
I think
so
Warner called him a celebrity coach or a celebrity hire or something like that. So
they're just crazy stuff. But some of the numbers, and I mentioned that the star power of Deion means a lot because college football, let's be real, it's about money. We've discussed it time and time again. No need to beat a dead horse, but just to mention it, they were only behind the Florida LSU game with 9.17 million viewers. It was 7.2 million viewers for the big noon kickoff for Fox. That's their big game. So they had the big noon kickoff this week to start the season. And then next week, their first home game, which I'm pretty sure the ratings are going to be high as well, where they take on Matt Rule, who took over a reclamation project to take on Nebraska. So that's going to be a scrappy team to play. So that's they have another big matchup, and then after that they have to play. They get a down drop. They play Colorado State, but then they play Oregon. So they're going to know after this first month how real they are. I know in the headline and thumbnail it says, "Are they contenders?" I don't believe they're contenders, but after this month, hell, they might be. If they go and beat Oregon and beat USC, which I don't see them doing, I do have them losing to them. I'm hoping in some close games, especially that Oregon win in Oregon. But if they come out with good showings, they already are going to get recruits interested. If he could change over the roster and get 80 plus new players after a 1-11 season, imagine beating a ranked TCU team, being number 22 from being unranked. We don't know when the last time Colorado was ranked, so we don't even need that. That's a great trivia question, actually. But they're gonna get not just the transfers, but the recruits coming in. Like, don't forget Travis Hunter, he did recruit him and got him to come to Florida State, and he got him to transfer. So we've seen him get big fish at the FCS level. Just imagine when he gets the big fish at this level. And off of his name, you can say what you want. Whoever said he's a celebrity coach, I don't think with Deion there, they don't get into the big. I don't know if they get into the Big 12. I don't think if they have enough cachet to get into the Big 12.
I was watching First Take this morning, and Stephen A. went down some numbers of just how Coach Prime's, I guess, since joining as a head coach for that team, I can't remember the numbers off the top of my head, but it was an increase in ticket sales. Resale value is already like over $400, which has cost more than some NFL tickets for the Colorado home games. TCU, I believe about 40 or 50 something were in attendance, and the capacity of that stadium is about 8 to 10,000 less than what the actual people was there. So it was a surplus of people there, and it was one other stat, but you could just see the type of presence that he has put Colorado into now, and his relationship that he already has with players, and how he can recruit. Now they see Colorado. They will ultimately see them potentially on a national, more of a national scale. They think he could potentially be the highest paid coach in college football if he continues somewhat on this path. I'm not expecting this dude to go undefeated and whatnot, because I am the true believer. I do not make big deals after one win, especially because emotions be high. Just one win, especially in a season, because in football, anything can just bring you, can bring your team down. An injury, a big loss of your team, because you're dealing with teenagers or young adults. So if they get emotional high and they have a big loss, that can really, snowball during the season. And going back to the comment that Tough Topics brought up about the doubters and naysayers, yes, Deion and his team, they spent a lot of time after this one game talking about them, because everything was said about them. It wasn't a traditional, oh, you just an underdog and you going to go play against the national runner-up. No, it was because there was a whole lineage and stuff they were going. They were talking about from Prime coming from an HBCU, and the HBCU players cannot compete at a Division I. His son cannot be a quarterback in Division I football and a Power 5 conference at that. they were saying Travis Hunter can't play both sides of the ball at Power Five,
Yeah.
and he definitely proved them wrong about that. Um, so it was a whole lot. Like I say, Ed Warner
Which
calling
was
him a
which was
celebrity coach.
which was absolute madness to say that Travis Hunter couldn't do this at that level because it just proves the point of being associated with the HBCU puts us, they want to make it like it's a stain because if someone actually uttered their lips to say that, like he wasn't the number two or in some recruiting rankings the number one player in the country, you want to drop him for that and say that he can do that. Please believe if he went to Florida State, he was going to be playing on both sides of the ball because a player with a special skill set, you play them. Now, when you get to the another level, will they do that? We don't know, but
Yeah,
at this level for sure.
once you get
And
paid,
so
they ain't gonna do that.
so that's just absolute crazy for those people to say that. And I'm glad that Ed Water was the one who said that, who he got humbled. Now the only thing is, and I will say they have to keep that in their mind as far as not focus on the negatives too much. So tough topics. I will say after this week, they should calm that down because there will come, I will believe, a loss in the season, and then they're going to ratchet it up. You can't keep, like we talked about with Scary Richardson. If the talk is a lot, they're going to keep the receipts and they're going to remember. And so you got to kind of, talk your ish when you can, but don't do it too much because they if they come and have which if they lose to Oregon or USC, those are really top level programs. This is a team that's basically going through a rebuild after 1 year. So I'm with you. I saw Love say, hey, he's going to get out of big fish. I believe he certainly will. He's going to get a lot of recruits, especially what he's seeing with Travis Hunter. If there's players with that skill set, or if it's just elite level DBs, why wouldn't you want to come learn from the best? One of the best to ever do it on multiple levels, on this and the pro level. So I'm really excited about what I was seeing. I was coming in expecting a good competitive game, got a thrilling upset. So that now the letdown has to come, and Deion's level of coaching is going to show. How are you going to respond when it's, you think the world is thinking, hey, you're ranked, you're at home opener, going to be packed, going to be a sellout. No telling who else is going to try to show up for you to beat because it's going to be a spectacle. You can't come and let Colorado, who Coach Rule in his own right, take what he did in the NFL and just realize that everybody can't coach at the NFL. At the college level, he was really good from his time. I think he was with Temple, then he was with he was with Baylor. That guy is a pretty quality college coach.
Yeah, people think he got to build his name back up because of his
If he wins, if he beats Deion this week, if he beats Colorado this week, that's gonna get a bump in his name.
My only thing is because another thing that was factored into the whole thing, I guess how Colorado is focusing on the naysayers is a lot of them you saw during the college game day with Lee Carso. They wasn't too fond of how Prime, went in and told the old Colorado players, hey, advising them some transfer. But I saw an interview.
From my own luggage and it's Louis.
Yeah, he had an interview with what's her name? She's a sports.
What's going on, Dre?
And he was saying people made a big deal about that particular fact. They only really talked to about 20 of those players. Hey, you may want to hit the transfer portal or so like that. He said the other players just flat out quit during the spring transfer. They chose to go to the transfer portal. So
about half of the guys that left. Yeah, I saw it was like 41 transfers.
Yeah, he didn't kick them out. They just chose to leave because I guess they and of course you be like, man, y'all only won one game last year, and with that, y'all was getting beat by an average. I think it was like 29 points. So I don't know why the people was complaining. He said, let me bring. But what I think about going into next week when they play Nebraska, they got to find an offense, and they haven't had an offense in some years. Well, I see with Colorado, now the offense still has to execute, but one thing they do have that was proven, they have explosive skill players.
Explosive.
So you let Edwards, the receivers,
Weaver,
they dropped some
Jimmy
passes.
Horn
Even
Jr. They
Hunter,
had
he dropped some
400
passes.
yard receivers.
Yeah, so
400 yard
they could
receivers.
have had better numbers if they would have caught some more passes.
Caught a few. Yeah.
And yeah, so I mean, I don't like to, because I believe everything gets settled on the field, so I can't compare teams based on, I guess, paper. But I know Colorado has explosive skill players, and they're gonna be playing a team. They Big
Looking to make
Ten
things work.
besides Ohio State and Michigan, really, because Michigan like to run the ball down your throat. They don't. It's hard for them to keep up with scoring. They like defense and run the ball. Well, you put them against Colorado, who is the Colorado and Big 12. I mean, Pac-12 and Big 12 kind of similar. Offense, defense, we see you sometimes. That's just the honest truth. They both just. I know. So if Colorado will play a team that can really run the ball, push the ball, that'll be a big challenge for them because their defense has some holes. And coach, he talked about that in the post game. They got to straighten that up. But yeah, I saw a meme, I guess, because you know all the hell. And the thing about with Coach Prime, the naysayers wasn't just the media. The naysayers also was from HBCUs who was a fan of him leaving from HBCU to go to a PWI. And now I saw a meme. You know the whole Simpson meme when he's out from the bushes in one team, then he'll go back in the bushes come out. Well, yeah, they had a Jackson State on. They go back in the bushes coming out there. And I guess everybody at HBCU rooting for Colorado. And the thing about Colorado is not. I'm assuming maybe the players in the field, but just that area of percentage, not a lot of people that look like us. But
no, it's not. It's in the low. It's under 10%.
It's not a HBCU by any sense of the means. So, you know. But hey, I'm happy that he got the first win. He was able to prove that this team is for real, and you know it's good to see where they're gonna go from there. But yeah, I remember the naysayers wasn't just the media.
No,
had
it wasn't
nice, strong amount from the HBCU alumni as well. So got to remember that part as well.
And what sucks about it, and I hate it, and people don't realize it. Going to being at a SWAC school like Prairie A&M and seeing like the other SWAC schools and how they interact. One that does stick out is like if they did not know, like Jackson State is a very proud group with a rich history. So I know how a word that you hear a lot of times that you can hear from, let's say, a Nebraska or Miami, you might hear the word sleeping giant. And that's what Jackson State was. They were a sleeping giant. They had fallen on hard times, but they are a very proud, boisterous fan base. Like I remember beating them in the game, and because their history is so rich, they were talking shit to us. Like, and to be honest, we hadn't had a winning season in a while. They were popping their stuff. It was like, hey, y'all need more fan spirit. They were really going in. I was like, oh, so I knew when they had Deion, I was like, oh, it's gonna flip the other way. They're gonna be real braggadocious. The only problem with that is it flips the other way. And I think after this year for them, and I know they got taken behind the woodshed by FAMU. And FAMU had an extra grind against them for a few years because Coach Prime's first year there and their first year in the conference, they lost 7-6. And in Message Sports, they held on to that for so long. And we was like, I know it was 1 point, but that W means a lot. You can't then to come back the next year and get basically just embarrassed in the Orange Blossom Classic. They were hurt by it, and this day was coming. I knew when he left, I was like, hey, they're gonna have to deal with that now. And I know now they want to jump down and say, oh, he took the ratings with him, and this happened because the ratings came out. It's just kind of like, hey man, Jackson State's gonna be all right. Coach Prime's gonna be all right. I think they should stop focusing on each other. I know Deion, Coach Prime's daughter, mentioned something about Jackson State. Like after, I want to say a week or so ago, and I was just like, somebody need to get out to it. Like, hey, don't poke them. Just leave them alone. Like, you going on to Colorado and doing big things. They're going to be fine. Like, just kind of, I'm ready for that storyline to go. I know it's going to be for this season. I'm going to try to pay as least amount of attention to it as possible. But you just got to, as a fan, you can't be there. Like, I know I'm wearing my Rangers hat, and like your Astros been kicking out. Y'all been on this these last 2 games.
I'm
this
keeping up with
series
the game right now.
Yeah, I got it. I saw your boy hit my boy. That's one of my favorite players. He hit a 2-run homer against us. But it's you just gotta let it go and just focus on your team. Like you're a proud team, and the more Jackson State focuses on them, they not. I know some are like, hey, he gone. It is whatever. Still D I love, and that's their slogan. And so I support all the fans that are like that. Eventually, the loud minority, it gets drowned out. It'll get drowned out.
I'm saying Black Man, he put up the LSU. He meant LSU instead of KSU.
Oh, okay.
LSU gonna need that game against Grambling to get their confidence back after what they did against Florida State.
Sure.
I guess that's that was a game. That just let's just get our confidence back because especially when the schedule is made prior to the season, they thought they hopefully gonna be in a better situation, but now y'all need that game now. And I see Love representing Grambling. We both represent PZ, so
we're the Panthers.
See that State Fair Classical now.
He know what it is. That's my brother. He know what it is. He heard the promo. He was like, man, the promo for the game now is like PV has won 5 straight, and I was like, yeah, man. But speaking of winning streaks, man, we kept our winning streak alive against TSU to 9. That game there, they had me stressed.
Boy, they had me stressed. Pull a comeback, man.
With that comeback, man. I was just like,
I'm trying to remember the record against TSU the past decade. Like PV has been flat out dominating this school. I saw it. I'm like, TSU. I'm like, y'all get our own stadium, so I can practice better.
They need one because that's why I wasn't gonna go, but it takes some of the appeal away when it's at their stadium because it's not a true home field. Now our field, you could tell it's gonna be a true home field advantage. But I haven't been in a minute, but it's just great to see. Like that's the one thing. It's great to see the bands back. It's great to see HBCU football. It's great to see college football back because once it gets going and you get the pro going, it's like your whole weekend just you ready for it. But it goes so fast because you seeing this great intense football. You game watching the other scores and seeing what your rival is doing, how things is going. Like as far as keeping eyes on the West, Southern did lose to Alabama State this weekend. So it's just like, hey, we're and that's the thing about the State Fair Classic. When you play that or when you play any conference game as the opener, it's like 2 wins. You beat a rival and you got a leg up in the conference. And then if you lose, it's like 2 losses. It's like you lost, it's the same way. So, but I know we broken it down as far as a lot of college. Man, tomorrow we got the defending champs, taking on the Lions. And we got some. I know we're going to get into it later about some fantasy stuff. I was concerned. Travis Kelce was my top pick. And him being hurt, I'm a little nervous because it's like it's tough for me in fantasy to get a tight end.
That's why you get some. That's why you draft some depth. Even if he can't play week 1, maybe if they was playing on a Sunday, he'd probably be good. But because they playing tomorrow, them Thursday games, if you get injured, Ronnie, it's just basically. The frustrating thing about it, it could be just a 5 or 6 day injury. And so normally on a Sunday you'll be good to go, but because everything's so compact for Thursday games, even though this is different because it's the first game of the season, but he just
he banged up and the point spread did drop some, so it's making me think either he's going to be ineffective or he's not going to play. But I still expect the Chiefs to win that one just off the strength of. It's really tough to win those games when a team is at home and they just won a championship. Like even though it wasn't a home game, it was a weird situation. The Ravens lost to the Broncos because it was like a parking situation, and the Orioles, they play in the same area, so they had to move their game to play, and they played Denver at home, and they beat Denver in the playoffs, so they got smacked. I know. Don't let Poppy hear this, but the Giants lost the home game against the Cowboys 1 year after they won their last Super Bowl. That was the Jason Witten spleen game where he played with that broken spleen, and he still came out and played. And then last year, actually, the Rams got throttled by the Bills, and that was the start of what was going to be. They were going to have a rough year. So it rarely happens. So the Lions, I know there's a lot of Lions hype. I'm somebody that believes they can do something, and especially with Rodgers out of that division. But they gave them a tough draw. But I know for them and Dan Campbell, the way he is, they welcome the challenge
Well,
because it's like,
I ask you this: who do you have the championship? You got the Chiefs or you have the Field?
I got the field. I'll take the field
Yeah,
in that one.
because it's just so hard to win back-to-back titles in the
It's
NFL.
hard.
Because a lot of time with
Yeah.
in football more than anything, man, it's just hell. There's a lot of luck that comes involved.
There's a lot of luck, and that's the frustrating thing. That is for the team we root for. They don't never account for the luck or the things if they go the other way.
Man.
Like if Jaquiski Tartt can catch the ball, and I'm glad he didn't because I do not like the 49ers. The 49ers make the Super Bowl the year, but instead, he drops the pick. And my brother, I know he's in the chat. He always has a theory. When guys drop interceptions, it's like a new leash on life. They probably gonna go back and score on that drive.
It's like an error committed in baseball.
Uh-huh.
It just keeps the inning. Yeah, you just
keeps
get one more out, but it's like the other team just capitalize it. We're gonna make you famous, and then they just capitalize on the error. Same thing in football. If you miss or you drop a potential touchdown or a huge yardage play, yeah, it just you talking about it'll just change momentum. And the thing about the Cowboys, I mean, every time I keep hearing his mouth, every time he say it, talking about accident waiting to happen. I'm like, damn, this dude is right because they just can't get right. And we just talk about how you got to have luck. I'm like, well, this
Tons
team
of it.
they don't have no luck. Hell, it look like all the luck is going towards the Chiefs right now because they really shouldn't have been in the Super Bowl. If it wasn't for a careless out of bounds hit by the Bengals that put them in range for the field goal. It was like the stupidest hit. I mean, you got the dude crying after the game and his teammates standing up to him trying to, I'm like, dude, why did you even hit the dude? He was already out of bounds. But yeah, it's just stuff like, but
football
I
guys
agree.
punish
I
you
say
on
the
the mistakes.
field.
Sure.
I say the field versus the Chiefs.
Most definitely. It's just one of those deals where it's really tough to get back, and then you deal with once you win the championship, you deal with the spoils of winning. Like right now, Chris Jones basically said he's willing to play. He's willing to play, but he's just looking for a raise and then I don't think it helps him.
Nick Bosa raise.
And it doesn't help that Bosa's deal goes through, and then it's basically his deal. His team is looking like I'm really important to my team and what they do, and he is. Like their defense is not a top tier unit. It's a deal where they are led by their offense, but they have enough defense.
The stat. With Chris Jones, the Chiefs are like a top. They probably like top 10 or maybe just outside the top 10. Without Chris Jones, they are literally like the fourth from the bottom. The total defense and all that. He's a huge factor for that defense. So it's just like it's night and day. And he's also one of those players that you really don't like. If there's a player who hasn't been practicing with him in training camp, but there's a player just say, hey, just go get the quarterback. That's Chris Jones. You don't need to run those snaps. Just go get him, and he'll just do his job. But yeah, I think with Bosa because he got that defensive player of the year, and he can bring that to the negotiation board. So, yeah, they gave him a leg up with the 49ers. And I saw somewhere for 2024, the amount of money that 49ers are going to have to pay some of the players they currently have. I'm like, they're going to do some hellified restructuring. A lot of them dudes going to be gone.
It's a bunch of restructures that are about to happen for them.
Kick the can down the road.
They're going to kick the can down the road, but there's going to be some guys they're going to get rid of. They're going to have to make some decisions. But I posted it. Someone posted in a sports group I'm in, and I just mentioned, hey man, at some point, the cost of trading away those picks for Trey Lance is going to come up. It's going to come to bite you. It's going to hurt you. And then it comes to the fact is somebody mentioned, hey man, Trent Williams probably not going to see the end of that deal. He's getting up in age, so you're going to have to look at. He's probably going to be somebody that you're going to want to get rid of. You're going to have to replace. He's going to leave at some point. Then you got to deal with the standpoint of, hey, man, you're paying a big money guy in Bosa. You just signed a free agent. You signed Hargrave away from the Eagles. You gave him big money for the interior. I know what happened with Javon Kinlaw, who's someone that was expected to be somebody that's going to be a major impact player. To me, it signals maybe he's not the impact player that you think he's going to be, because you're signing a player like him, and they are in go now, win now mode. They're 100% there in
Yeah,
win now
yeah.
mode. So they're going
They
for
taking
it.
the Rams route. They
They're
taking the
taking
Rams
it. They're
route.
taking the Rams route. But as we seen, and as we could see with the Rams, that's something that could cost you. Now they own their first round pick this year. I don't see Sean McVay as a guy that's going to stick around for a rebuild. I
It's
think
like the
he's a
Rams
guy that's
sold they
gonna
sold. That's exactly what
go
they
go.
did. Sold they sold.
Yep, he's gonna. So I would say if there are a lot of games out, I know they gave Donald a restructured type of deal. I could see them. Hey man, we need a pick. We'll trade you Donald and see. And I think they could probably get a second, because that's a lot of money coming in. Uh,
The black man asked us, how do we feel
man,
about
I,
Kennesaw first take?
I haven't
So
been able
far
to get to. I
they
ain't got a
had
chance to
two
watch it.
shows. I watched them. The first show they only had an hour because the tennis going on right now, and then the second, cause he's on Monday and Tuesdays. Tuesday he had the full 2 hours. Yeah, you can already see the chemistry between him and Stephen A. It was one thing he accidentally called in the first episode on Monday. He accidentally called Stephen A. Skip. And so Tuesday when they came, Stephen A. said, "I got something for that," and slapped on his name, a name badge, so he won't forget. But yeah, you can already see the chemistry between them two. They talked about the Colorado game, and also just various topics. Of course, they talked about the Jets. And you just hear a whole lot about Jets. I mean, they're a New York team, so you already know a New York team and an East Coast station. They just wear that topic out. And I'm like, damn, man, and the
Yeah,
Jets doing a whole lot of talking, and I'm like, y'all, I hope y'all really come. It's different than Colorado, because Colorado is mainly more about post prime and
yeah,
all the noise, the naysayers coming his way. The Jets are just over there, just opening their mouths. He already had one player. He said they have the potential. He didn't say they are, but he just said they have the potential to be like the '85 Bears defense. So he already kind of lightly trying to draw his comparison, even though they say they not that. So that's not what he said. But of course you got Hard Knocks with the Jets. You just hearing a
yeah. The
whole
Hard
lot
Knocks is
about.
going. That's going to bring the attention when you're on Hard Knocks, and on top of being the number one market in the country, and you just got a superstar quarterback. The only thing is, how are they going to perform when the lights is on? Game one, they got a tough test. They got Buffalo, and so we're gonna see early on against a good opponent how they look. And that's the thing. I think they have a chance to really do something. I still think Buffalo can win that division, just because you think about the Jets and you think about home field advantage. Okay, it's a home field advantage, it's the Jets, but when you think of Buffalo, you think about those crazy fans, and then depending on the time of year, I tilt that to them. Like one of the games the Cowboys will play against them, I'm tilting that to the Bills, just because it's going to be I think it's going to be probably a low scoring defensive game, but I think they're used to those elements more so than the Cowboys are, who play in the dome stadium. And even though they play, they might catch Philly, they might catch New York in a cold one, or they might catch Washington, the Commanders. But it's just one of those deals. They're playing at least half their home games in some inclement weather. So but I can see the hype because it's Aaron Rodgers. But it's the deal that it's Aaron Rodgers with help, with, I would say, probably a
Yeah, his whole
better
career,
defense than he had in Green Bay.
at Green Bay, he never threw a pass
Yeah.
to a first round receiver. Now he has one in Garrett Wilson.
He has
So
one, and that's who. And speaking of fantasy, oh my gosh, I want it. I have my
somebody
little
scooped him
cheat
up,
sheet
and
out,
we'll
and
get
somebody
to him. But
scooped.
yeah, somebody scooped him up. But I got a hellified. I have some good receivers what I believe that I end up drafting. But yeah, the you can see the chemistry between Sharp and Stephen A. The thing I'm waiting for him to see, actually both both shows when Sharp was on Undisputed and First Take, they're not really afraid to talk about the more controversial topics, the more heavy topics when they happen to, when they occur. And it'll be interesting to see how him and Stephen A. will talk about something. In the NFL, it's always going to be NFL like a soap opera. It's going to have its storylines, some football storylines, and some off the field storylines. So you might as well. That's the NFL saga, and so it's going to be interesting to see how they talk about that. But from what I've seen in the first 2 episodes, yeah, they, like I said, you can already see the chemistry growing already between the two. And yeah, Stephen A. did go to the Club Shay Shay podcast. He did that before Sharp's first episode on First Take. But
so wait, so so his pod he did it? Is it already over at on College Network on the Volume? Because he partnered with him.
You talking about Club Shay Shay?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. I just always see it on YouTube.
Yeah, because
I didn't know about that other one.
Because I know I'll say this about Colin. He's going aggressive after a couple of people. So I mean, but it's smart because you set yourself up for your in case they ever let you go. Because I was looking at it. The guy that left ESPN, Dan Levitar, and he's over with Mellow Lark, and he has his show, and it's the same. The setup looks the same. Everything looks the same. It's just on YouTube, and it's from the standpoint of, he was talking about some of ESPN's issues. He's talking about the cable deal, and one of the guys knows about networks, and he was saying, this is starting
Spectrum stuff, that Disney Spectrum.
Yeah, and he talked about it. And he said what's starting to happen is it's starting to be to where you're going to be basically with streaming. We're going to pay for what you want. You select to pay this channel, that channel, because ESPN has been making the money by saying, hey, we got all these subscribers, we got all this content, or we got all this live content, and we got subscribers. You got to pay us, even if it's some people that don't, watch sports. But where it gets tricky is bundling it with Disney. You might, if they pulled all their Disney products, everybody don't stream. So what if your kids like Disney? What if you like National Geographic Channel and all the stuff Disney owns? That's where it becomes a problem. They start mentioning that Disney might sell ESPN at some point in the near future. And I was just like, and basically all the revenue for team sports is tied to the TV contracts. And NFL is the one that keeps going up.
Yeah.
Basketball is about to do their deal. So it sounds like it's time to cash out on your deal, because in the next one, it might either stay the same or it might drop a little bit.
That's the thing. That's one of the main things. But you always hear about the WNBA players talking about they want to get paid more. A lot of that money comes from TV deals. And I don't know if y'all on the same boat as your male counterparts when it comes to TV. That's where a lot of that money comes from. And that's the one that, there's a salary cap, and it's usually those TV deals that raise that salary cap, so you can get paid for more. So hey, that's it's always fun when I hear that. You're like, hey, we want more money. It'd be, y'all deserve it, but
they definitely deserve it, because it's tough to make it in the league. And the love's like, I feel you on Richard Sherman being perfect on the show with Skip. It's just that Skip, he has turned sports media into a bad way, and plus like some of the dirt and stuff he's did with the Cowboys.
Everybody on there again.
I can't really just support him like that. Like, I love Mike, so if it's like an interesting clip, I do it the same way. Now I will say this: Shannon had me watching it, even though I didn't want to. He had me like tuning in and catching out some of his topics. Some topics from Shannon, I just can't. I know how he acts and how he is, so I just won't go for it. But I'll watch it. I might eventually tune in and watch it, depending, especially once the Cowboy season start, and and I want to hear what Mike wants to say. But Richard's pretty good, but it's just, he's solid. It's tough for Skip. It's tough to watch him and support anything he does, just because it's like, man, he's the reason why things are so net in sports, and he's like poisoned some younger sports fans' minds. Like, there's a sports group I'm in, and I'm like, guys, can y'all stop talking about LeBron? Like, why are you not talking about an all-time great, that guy that just won the Super Bowl MVP and the MVP, which doesn't happen a lot? going up against an upstart team in the Lions. Maybe you don't follow the Lions like that, or you don't follow football to know that, hey, they're a really good team, and it could be a really compelling game. It's just like, can we please stop? Like, basketball has been gone so long.
Yeah,
Can you leave LeBron? Can you stop talking about LeBron?
both of those teams,
It's
I mean, both of those
crazy.
shows, they have a tendency to kind of focus on the super
Yeah,
popular topics so they know it's going to get views. Think about what First
yeah,
Take during their off season, I guess, when they're, when Stephen A. and Molly taking vacation and whatnot.
yeah.
That's actually when they talk about a whole lot more. They have a whole lot more variety in their topics. And then of course when they come back, they have a tendency to, they're going to talk about the Cowboys. They're going to talk about the Jets right now in football season. They're going to ultimately talk about the Chiefs, primarily Patrick Mahomes. Not the Chiefs per se, but Patrick Mahomes. But if there's a story in the NFL, they tend to talk about them, but not really. They stick to the main teams. Only time they talk about the Texans because the Texans was firing their coaches. They wasn't
Yeah.
talking about all that. So both networks or both shows kind of they focus a
They
lot, and
copy each other.
they would
Was
drill
you?
down on just certain topics. You'd be like, hey man, there's another storyline over here. There's another. They just keep drilling. That's why you hear so much about ESPN. They focus so much on the Northeast. We don't really care too much about the Yankees, Red Sox. I mean, okay, there's a rivalry, but not as much as y'all trying to drill it to us.
Mm.
But because they know it's a huge fan base that follow behind that up in the Northeast, so that's why they cater to that. They don't talk about no
Yeah.
other baseball until you see it on
No,
on Sports Center, but they will give you a Yankees update. Last year when the Yankees wasn't playing up to par, but Aaron Judge was doing his
yeah.
thing. They was doing his, but talk about the polarizing. But since we coming down almost towards the end of the show, so I wanted to jump into this fantasy roster that I had real quick. I just want to run it by you. At least my starting, and basically, so my fantasy league, we just had to draft this past
In the
Saturday.
chat, if you got fantasy, drop your roster. I'll rate your drafting skills. I ain't gonna be too harsh on you.
Yeah, I would have put mine, but I got to copy and paste mine. Um, it's a 14 team league, which is damn near too much. Only thing, but we try our best to try to run it like a real authentic, like off season program, like how they do it in real life. So we have trades. So I had trades from last year, trades from my players to get multiple picks. So that hopefully increased my chances and being more successful in this league, because damn near by the time you get to the sixth round in the 14 team league, you literally damn near drafting players on the offensive side of the ball that damn near they could be on the podcast with me and you. It's like you just reaching. Now the thing about with our league, we do have IDPs, so that kind of make up for it. So with my roster, so I have we also have a keeper. And it
Okay.
has to be, I think, a player drafted, I think, rounds 8 or lower from last year.
Okay.
Because I got my keeper via trade because he was suspended last year. Otherwise, he would have been drafted. But my keeper is Calvin Ridley, and then my number one overall was Tyreek Hill. I had to get some running backs. They was just getting soaked up real quick, so I got Joe Mixon, Mark Andrews, Najee Harris. I didn't have a fourth round pick because I traded that for a player last year. I had 2 fifth round picks, so I got Zay Flowers. Then I finally got my QB
I
and
like
Trevor
that one.
Lawrence. Yeah, I like that Zay Flowers. Hopefully I see big things for him. I think he's one of the main reasons why Lamar has no more excuses. You have weapons between Flowers, Andrews, and Odell Beckham, and a return Bateman. You have your weapons now, so we don't want to hear
Yeah,
we want to
we have in the new
hear
offensive coordinator. They got to throw the rock.
exactly. I got the 49ers defense, and then now, and one of my first IDP, which is individual defensive players, I got T.J. Watt,
Mm.
and I think a
Okay.
steal that I was able to get because he's on a new team. I was able to pick him up in the 7th round, and that's Dalvin Cook. I was like, oh, so then
that could have some value for you because Breece Hall, I drafted him in one of my leagues. They're still going to be bringing him back, but Dalvin Cook is a guy that does get injured. I would flip him if you could, just because he's going to be a guy that he's on a 1-year deal, but they know they want Breece Hall to be the guy, but they need somebody to help balance it and to help him along. So, and he's a good weapon, and so
and then I got Nick Bolton, the linebacker for KC. Didn't have a nice pick because of trade, and then the rest is just the bench. Cole Kmet, Derwin James, Kadarius Toney, Jason Myers, Jacoby Myers, just bench players. Cause
those are the guys that flyers. Because Cole Kmet, he could be somebody that does something because, like, they're still developing. Justin Fields is still developing, and he's a guy that obviously you want the quarterback to go have good, easy targets.
Exactly.
Cole Kmet is the tight end, so that's somebody that can have some value. So for a 14-league team, that sounds pretty good. That sounds pretty good. I tried to do it. I try to do it I've never tried this, but certain players you always want to target. I was able to get some players to have some continuity, so where it's like, oh, if I have a good day with him, probably gonna have a good day with all my leagues. What's the size
of your league?
All my leagues are all 12. Like it was more for the big money league, but it changed, and I wasn't tripping at all. I wasn't tripping at all. I was like, hey, I'll take 12 because I was ready. I was doing
12 myself.
I was doing 14 team mock drafts. And when I seen it, I was like, oh, I'm ready. And then I was like, oh, it's 12? Cool. I'm used to a 12 team, so I didn't even do a mock for that one. And I did that one. So I did one Friday, and then I did one last Friday. Then I did one, I think, on Sunday, and I did one on Monday. Basically, me with most of all my college buddies, we have that one big one that we do, and we always set ours because now we all got kids and stuff. We do that draft on Labor Day. That's basically because, and usually it works. All the injuries doesn't happen, except for this time, a practice injury with Travis Kelce comes about. And so, but normally we know, okay, all these players have been injured. Like the people, I know ESPN and they when they do those leagues, they do them out early. I'm like, I would do that for like the show, but we're going to do our real draft later. Like that's just for show and the people. I'm not trying to have my draft during training camp. That's crazy. You never know what's going to happen. Like, I know they got contractual, to do it for TV and, the Matthew Berries and stuff, which I like his information. And I know it's tough. ESPN always has that in the negotiation. When you leave, you're not going to be as popular. And I know they always pitch that to people. But there are ones that you follow, like, I think Bomani Jones is leaving ESPN. I'm going to follow him where he goes. So he has really good content. But Matthew Berry, if you can catch him he's with NBC's group. He be still having some good nuggets and some good draft kits. I know Phil Yates and them, they cool. I still follow him, but I think I'm really banking on Justin Fields. I got him as my quarterback for 3 leagues. So I'm thinking, even if the passing ain't where I want it to be, the rushing yards are gonna be there. Cause see, he's still on that rookie deal. So if they run him, he ain't earned the bag yet. I think 2 quarterbacks, because they got the bag, are not going to run as much anymore. If the teams are smart, Jalen Hurts and Lamar Jackson. You paid them. Now I think the running, you see it less. And now I think if it's a big situation, you playing the Steelers, you playing the Browns, I do think Lamar will go ahead and still run it, and be more aggressive. But it's only in certain situations. Plus the injuries. The injuries that he's had, it's like, hey, you want to tone it down? You gave him Odell, you see what he got. And I want to say it's crazy to think. I took Mike Thomas as a flyer. He's at that point in his career. I took him as a flyer.
If he as a flyer, that's a good pick. Hopefully he can get a connection with Carr, but as long as he can pick him up as a high draft pick, now I'm like,
I didn't.
Like I did Dalvin Cook.
Yeah, and my favorite is like the person that's driving me in front of me. He's my boy. I always get on about the drafting. Now he drafted better. He just took the quarterback too high. And somebody in the chat was like, "Can I take the quarterbacks already?" And I was just like, and it's kind of like normally that run happens when you see the quarterbacks go. People don't realize like while there's only some elite ones, there's ones that you're not thinking about that are going to give you points. Like as much people bag on Dak, like Dak is like a safe pick. He'll give you a few rushing, random, not as much as he used to. He'll give you a few rushing, and he's going to put up some numbers. But I'm ready to get the season started. I know as a Cowboys fan, there's going to be the over Cowboy topics, and when they win, it's kind of like, okay, they won, all right. And it's like, well, but, and it's like, nah, no, well, but they won the game. But when they lose, here comes I can take that scrutiny. But the random weird takes and stories, like listening to the local radio, they'll be like, that can't be fun to do a Dak topic for the third day in a row. Like, and I was like, they need the season more than anybody. Like, at least Friday, everybody, Thursday to tomorrow and Friday, everybody gets pregame talk about the season, and then they get, talk about the season, other topics that might come out. Like, I'm pretty sure it's going to come out soon. Who's going to perform at the Super Bowl, all that stuff. We need new topics. I mean, I know from people that are diehard basketball, I know basketball fans. I know that one, and I know we really didn't get to really speak on that one. And I'm glad you said that because that's gonna be my final thoughts. All right, give me your football intelligence here, my people. I know that y'all want to rag on Dak and say you want to run him out of town. Get this. This guy was competing. All right, they traded the picks to get him. He had the injuries. Cool. All right, we're gonna have him as the backup. All right, you lost your backup job to a guy that was that's now a journeyman that was a first-round bust and Sam Darnold. So a guy that could not win the backup job is going to come. Cooper Rush, who y'all was like, hey, he might be better than that. And you saw against that Eagles game, nah. Let the big dogs do it. Let Dak do it. Let him be the starter because he earned it. He's the guy. He's going to come out and leap over Cooper Rush and then leap over and take Dak's job. Just stop suspending yourself in Cowboy. The Cowboy hate points in your brain.
He's not going to. The week prior, it was just talking about he's damn near a bust. Somehow when he left San Francisco and came to the Cowboys,
and those hours he left, he got better.
Exactly. That's why some hellfire study on that plane ride come over there. I'm like, hell, Doc.
That's crazy.
Take a Dak spot.
Let's be real. Man. This is what this guy is. Dak's cap hit next year is going to be like $60 million. So he's going to get a new deal. Jerry Jones just said he's going to be here for a long time. Cool. So he's going to be there. We know that. What he can be is a developmental quarterback that you always need to maybe be a better backup than Cooper Rush. Look at that game where the Cowboys beat the Rams. Cooper Rush threw for like 100 yards. Bro, that's not sustainable. And that's why you saw the next week the Eagles was like, we're about to eat. And, the defense did as much as he could. He throws as many picks as he can, but sometimes he loses them because of penalties. Like, he literally will get a penalty. If you go back and watch those games, you'll see, like, oh, man, yeah, hey, man, hey, Dak, how you feeling? It was bad, but also from the standpoint of, and you play in a conference in which you have to face a Justin Fields, a Jalen Hurts. You have a really mobile, athletic quarterback, and I know some others I just mentioned, but we play Jalen Hurts twice. He can come in and be a scout team lookout for a guy that can. Yeah, you can get an athletic guy to come play scout team quarterback, but how well does he throw? He can simulate the throws and the speed of that player to help the defense. So he does help with that. Yeah, I mean, I'm not really banking on him knowing too much from what San Francisco does because I know they've been a thorn in our side the last 2 playoff losses. But, I mean, it's a solid move to get a quarterback because he's a guy that he might not be washed up. He didn't get enough time. So he's younger than some of the quarterbacks drafted this year, like Will Levis. He's a young guy. You got some opportunities. But if you thinking he's going to come and take that job, man, I mean, we need to give you a football IQ test. The 1-on-1 sports show, we might have to come up with a football IQ test to test you to be like, hey, man, you might need to go study up.
You'd be surprised how much people fail that test, man. I always tell people they so focused on trolling. I was like, don't let people believe your trolling is your actual sports knowledge. Because I mean, you give them. I'm like, man, well, how did y'all come up with this? Because they just
how did you do that
so bad? So, but yeah, they got Lance because he was cheap. They only gave him a 4th round pick. That's why
they want that drama.
If he don't work out, hey, 4th round pick. That's all it costs us. Go ahead, go have your ice cream. Get away from us. So it was not a thing, but it looked like we got to close things down because I know we got another show coming up behind us. So
now they out for the day.
They out for the day? Oh,
yeah, they are.
Well, we still got the final thoughts thing. I was like,
We still got the. I'll say is my last final thought. I know I didn't get my pick. and I held it in because I know you'll be like, hey, my prediction for the Cowboys, I think they're going to win the Giants. That game, I'm not too worried about it. But as far as the season, I do have high expectations. I'm not a this our year guy, but my thing is from the talent on the level of the teams, if they do not make the conference championship, there needs to be some massive changes that happen. There has to be. And I think one of them, unfortunately, might have to be the head coach. I don't think he's a terrible coach, but that's something that does need to be up for evaluation. If you're a third year in a row, you can't get at least to that game. The conference is not very strong. So you need to come out and you need to win the games that you're supposed to win. And obviously there's going to be those games where you're not expecting. Detroit might clip you late in the season. That's a quality team. The Jets might clip you week 2. If the offensive line is not playing well enough week 1, that you could lose that one. So those were my expectations for the team. I was kind of holding those in. And so I am expecting that. I'm expecting that to have a pretty good year. I think Brandon Cooks is really going to help. I think CeeDee Lamb is going to have an even bigger year with Dak being there. If he's there a full season, then that's why I took him in fantasy. He's going to have a big year. And I'm going with Texas to pull the upset on Saturday.
Somebody picked him up right before I did because I think it was between Cooks and between Cooks and Zay Flowers, really.
Yeah, I had the 9th pick, and I end up being able to get Devontae Adams and CeeDee Lamb back to back. So I feel real. Yeah, I'm feeling strong with that team. I'm feeling real good. But I do have Texas going into Alabama, winning a tough one. I think it'll be a close game. But I'm going with the standpoint. I know Quentin Ewers didn't look great last week, but the fact that Jalen Monroe, he looked really good against a much lesser opponent. Now he's going to see that Texas defense that has a really stacked secondary, a good D line. I don't think Bama's going to be able to run the ball against them just like they were in last year. I think this is the one that gets Texas on the step to where, no, I don't want to talk about the back talk. I just want to talk about they haven't started the season 3-0 since like 2011. If you want to be in the team that looks at the playoff, you need to get those wins. So maybe if you, God forbid you lose to Oklahoma, I got an Oklahoma win a Bama win on the road in my pocket. You're looking at the playoffs if you win your conference. So I think I'm going with that one. I could get my heart broke. I knew last year we were going to lose. I picked that one. I just wanted us to compete. But this year it's just like this is the year where you win it. Then the recruits come. You already got one of the top edge players in the country coming. I think this is the time. If not now, then win. I think they win that one. If they lose it, it darn better be a one like last year. But they got to win this one, I think.
I see D-Town, he was asking if he can get on. I was like, damn, I wish you would have came a little bit earlier. Because I would stay longer.
Oh, man.
I can hear the little one in the background now giving them missing hell.
JG, what's going on? Hey, if Texas loses, it depends on how they lose. If they lose a tough one, that's one where if you come back and then you beat Oklahoma and you win the conference, in the college football world, that's a loss that was like, hey, that's a good loss, especially if you look up, you lost in the Alabama's in the SEC title game. And it's like, oh, that's my only loss? Now, if you lose that one and you lose to Texas Tech, hey, man, you can win the conference and then you go into the Sugar Bowl. You're not going to the playoffs more than likely. So that's where the stakes are.
So, but yeah, as far as my my final thoughts thing, I really don't have any final thoughts. Mine was just basically fantasy football and stuff like that. I just got to hit a little one back there just giving hell, so I'm at the run out of here.
I feel you. I had to watch I had never watched with my daughter. I had never watched the live action Little Mermaid, so I knew my show was coming. So my wife was like, "We're gonna be home in 10 minutes. Have it on." So we watched it. She watched the first of it, but she's still so young. As soon as Ariel off the screen, she doing something else. And she doing something. Ariel back on the screen. She invested. So we watched it for a little bit. She sat in my lap. So we watched it real quick. And I got to run my show because I actually gotta catch me a late night gym session. Either that or in the morning. I've been working at OT, man. It's time is got fit when you get the start. It's like, what day is it? The only reason I know what day it is because I got Thursday night scheduled because I got Thursday night scheduled to watch the game, get all set up, try to have actually I think I'm meeting up with some work people. We're gonna and have like a work event. We're gonna watch some of the games. So I'm all locked in on football. I feel like for the teams I root for, it's gonna be a big year and it'll be some good things happening. So I'm really excited. So if you see me coming in with the scrunched up face on next Wednesday, you already know, man. I have my baseball team are already just they free fall and they look like they're gonna miss the playoffs if they don't get it together.
I'm
So
over here
man,
keeping up with the game too, so
yeah, it's
I've been
over.
following
Y'all got it.
the whole show. So,
Y'all
but with
got
that
it.
though, by the time we come back next week, we'll be able to recap the week 1 of the NFL and week 2 of college. See how Colorado did against Nebraska after the big fanfare after the first win. Like I say,
Yeah, I
it's the
think that
most attention that I gave Colorado ever in college football. So, more props to Prom for doing that. So, hey, that's for the most part, that's all I have for this week.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you, Jay-Z. I'm tired of that. I'm tired of the Alamo Bowl. I'm tired of that. But I think they need to go out as much as the vitriol as the Big 12 has been giving Texas. They need to go out on top, because they won the first year of the Big 12. They need to win their last year, go out on top because you don't know when you're going to win a conference title again. You're going into the SEC and there's no more division. So it's going to be, who are the top 2 teams. They play in Atlanta and then they're going to go from there. And so I think you need to springboard into the SEC with winning this, getting as much good recruits as you can get, and then going because the plan, if y'all didn't know, of Texas is Quinn is going to go to the NFL because he's the guy that came early. He's done his enough time in college, and if he has a good year, especially if he comes out against Bama, you're gonna hear his name on draft boards. I don't know if Mel Kiper's still at ESPN or whoever the draft people are. It's gonna be like, hey, Quinn Ewers is starting to look like the number overall player in the country we thought he was going to be, and so that's the plan for him to go. And then Arch is in the SEC, and he's the guy that's competing for the starting job or going to get it over Malik Murphy, which is gonna be hard to beat him out because I've heard very impressive things from him. So. But that's all down the road. I'm all focused in on Saturday. It's man, that's a big one, man. I'm really looking forward to it, just from the standpoint of you got the weapons on offense and you got the bodies on defense. Can you execute? Can you get it done? And small pieces like Gary Patterson's not there like he was last year. Gary Patterson had been working on that game plan for Bama for months. And that showed in the game. You could see the attention to detail and just they were ready for everything they were going to do. I know Nick Saban loves to beat his old coaches, so I can't wait for that one to see are they going to be up for the challenge to take care of that. Because this year it's just this game. Next year you're going to have several big SEC games. When you go to Texas A&M for the first time in over a decade, and you go to these different schools. So I'm real pumped up about it. I'm getting more used to, hey, we're going to be in the SEC because I liked rooting against them because it was like, but now it's like, hey, you're a part of them. So it is what it is. But that's all we got for y'all this week, Phil. I know we got a little bit extra time this week. I appreciate y'all hanging out and staying with us. Hold on, Marcus. You said, let's go Trojans. Caleb. Hey, man, Caleb Williams and USC, they got something. We just got to see. I want to see what they look like when they play like the Colorado, since they much improved, and what they look like. The big test for them is when they play Utah. Utah play bully ball. So the USC is, more finesse. So matter of fact, we need to go ahead and when USC plays, I know we have a big show when they play Colorado in a few weeks. I know that's gonna be really something. Now, JG, we're gonna see. I think the only thing, and I know it's my last thing, as far as Colorado, it didn't show against TCU, but up front, the other teams have the advantage. Like Colorado, Utah even has the advantage over USC about upfront play. So when Colorado plays Utah, that's going to be the real test because we've seen it, and I believe Shedeur Sanders is going to be a quarterback that's drafted high. And if he keeps playing at this rate, he will be a first-round quarterback. If you can keep him clean enough, that's the key. Can you let him get the ball to those weapons that we talked about earlier with 400-yard receivers? And that's going to be the big thing. So hopefully this week they don't have the letdown week. Hopefully they keep their foot on the brass, beat and knock off Nebraska, and then we get to go and then Colorado State, and they get to go into that Oregon game 3-0. If they go into that game 3-0, College game day might be in Austin for Coach Brown because Coach him, Shedeur Sanders, Shedeur Sanders, they're gonna be in the Heisman hunt, in that Heisman race, man. It's gonna be there. I don't like to call the Heisman winning early. I just like to say who's in the race because it's only September and a lot can change between now and November. So that's all we got, people.
Appreciate y'all for joining us this week. Yeah, we got a lot of stuff in store coming up next week. We got a lot of topics coming on in football. Happy to have that back. So
yeah, we're so glad. Action packed with football. So we'll be back with plenty to talk about. And win, lose, or draw. I know Black Man gonna have the stunts to play if the Cowboys lose. So I'll be in the tune for whatever we got up, man. We gotta have videos like that. Shout out to Black Man for getting those tickets and going and supporting Coach Prime, man. That video was awesome. If y'all didn't know, we hadn't seen it either. So I really like that. I really like how he showed how the team was and how they came and got that victory and how he went to the game and got to experience that. So, man, again, we can't wait for next week. Can't wait to get into this football, man. It's the 1-on-1 Sports Show on the Black Man Unfiltered Network, man. We appreciate y'all. Love y'all, man. We'll see y'all next week.
Appreciate y'all. See y'all next week.
Peace.